Wisdom is
What
divine,
it
but
do? We
never
back
pay.
again. What was the quote again?
Forgiveness is divine, but never pay full price for late pizza.
Hey man, no truer words have been spoken. That was Michelangelo, right?
Yeah.
Bro,
Or
if
was it
any,
Leonardo? Damn, that's a class. Yeah, Michelangelo.
yeah,
Michelangelo.
bro, if anybody listening to this is a '90s baby, yo, that run of Ninja Turtles movies, them three
Man,
Ninja Turtles, yo,
they'll
even the
never,
third one.
they'll
People
never
hate
hit
the
that
third
bar.
one, but man, I still rock with the third one.
I don't hate it. My least favorite, but I still have it in my collection.
Yeah, it definitely was the least favorite one, but it was dope. Like
Yeah,
the back in time vibe. You know what I
because it was
mean?
it was a Shanghai, right? They took it back to like the
Yeah, they were like
Shanghai days,
samurais and stuff.
samurais and shit.
Hmm.
Yeah,
That was dope. I remember he like Raph saved some little kid or something like that. I kind of remember that vaguely.
barely remember it because I watched the first two over and over again.
But dog,
Uh,
they had that commercial. We were talking about it earlier, man. The Pizza Hut Little League commercial, bro.
mhm.
Where the kids in the outfield, the song is playing about, him catching a ball in right field. And then you cuts to the scene where the whole team's at the Pizza Hut. They're all eating pizza and they're all around the kid. And he's like retelling the story of the catch and stuff. Dog, I wanted to be that little white boy so bad growing up, dog. He looked like he had the life.
That used to make me think I could play right field. And what's crazy is right outfield and right field, especially, is probably one of the hardest positions in baseball.
Is that where
Baseball.
like the ball goes most of the time? Like,
Yeah, and then it's such a wide field to cover. Like just for the ball miraculously fall in your glove. That's the thing. That's why that I think that commercial was so significant back then.
and then the dude that was the catcher was Buddy from Mighty Ducks, right? In the
Yep,
commercial.
yep. The dude who went like freaking the drugs and addict and rehab and all that shit.
Yeah, bro, it's crazy, crazy, bro. Them kid actors, dog. They don't ever have like a good story coming out the other end, bro.
Child actors at all, man. It's
That's
sad.
that's not made like that's not a thing for kids, though. That's my daughter was always. Oh boy, we lost the boy. But anyway, my daughter, she was always like the one where they were always trying to tell her, like, well, tell us, oh, put her in these things, take her to the casting calls, for Disney shows, different things like that. Let's see what Joe said. Just crashed. All right, he's coming back. But yeah, dog, like I always got people telling me about that, and I'm like,
Hold on, we might need to restart. So
no,
it's
no, we good, we good. I still got it here anyway in the whole thing. But I
someone
was saying,
has a bug that'll cause it to crash.
yeah, I was having an issue before too. I think it was just being a little weird. But now I
Uh,
was saying that when my daughter was small, they always try to, tell us to put her in like things to like get casted for different stuff. And I was just always adamant about never doing that until she wanted to and she was older. Cause I just see the evidence, bro. Like
yeah,
there's no child actor.
because your daughter is mad talented for
Yeah, she
sure.
definitely is, bro. But it's like, it's like I told her, like, if it's gonna happen now or if it's gonna happen later, it's gonna happen if it's for you. You know what I mean? And you got
Yeah.
the talent, so and you see now all these podcasts popping up where it's just a whole bunch of child actors linking up, basically telling horror stories, bro. Even the guy Dan Schneider, the guy that did a lot of the Nickelodeon
The
shows, a
foot
whole
guy,
bunch,
the foot fetish
yeah, a lot
guy.
of crazy stuff came out about him. And it's like, bro, that's not an environment like that adult environment and like that kind of pressure, dog. That's not for kids, man.
Yeah.
That's not a place where they need to be.
And there's so much where you have to just leave them alone. You can't be at every single thing they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so you have to trust, in them and the people around them. But it's tough. It's definitely a risk reward type of thing for sure.
Yeah, it's even like what we were talking about earlier. Like, even if you do everything you can to kind of prepare them and watch them and do all this stuff, like things
As a
happen,
parent,
bro.
yeah,
That's just out of your hands. People don't like to consider that kids are people too, just from the point of view that they're just gonna do what they do, like no matter how well they're brought up or whatever. Like sometimes kids just go left, and
yep.
you don't want to accept that it's your kid. You don't want to accept that you a lot of times parents be like, oh, what did I do wrong? But if you did the best that you can and you gave as much love as you can, at a certain point it's like, man, you can't do nothing about it. You just hope for the best.
Yeah, you can't 100% attribute it to the youth for the excuse decisions we made. We're adults, and we know what we should and should not be doing. We have all the knowledge in the world at this point. And in the heat of the moment, sometimes we make wrong decisions all the time. You know what I mean? No matter how much we know, no matter how we're raised, no matter all the knowledge we have. And so being young, being an adult, you still deal with the heat of the moment decision making.
Yeah, man. It's always, oh boy, lost the guy again. Let me tell him to just restart his Chrome. Hey, yo. It's funny, man, because I was having issues with my Chrome getting it running and everything before we got on the podcast. And it's just crazy how now it's hitting him too. But yeah, man, I just know, like, me as a parent, man, you know, you try to do the best you can with the kids. You try to, you know, let them know the real, but also you got to kind of do it in a tactful way. It's really a lot of nuance to it. And we don't know what we're doing. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, I remember I had a teacher that he didn't have kids until after he was like older. You know what I mean? Like, he was already in his 40s, I believe, when he had his first kid. And he still had like that issue where it was like, you know, he didn't know what he was doing. He felt kind of lost, you know, when he had his kid. I was saying, Joe, like, I even had a teacher that was in his 40s when he had his first kid. And he was even saying, like, he was a professional, you know, he was a guy that had his, you know, situation straight. He had a house and everything. He was married. And even when he had a kid, he had a rough time and he didn't know what he was doing. And there was a learning curve for him.
Yeah.
And a lot of times you hear people saying, like, you know, wait till you're older, you know, do X, Y, and Z. And it's like, bro, there's no formula to this life. You know what I mean?
No,
people look, me and my wife, bro, we did everything backwards and wrong. You know what I'm saying? Like, we had a kid mad young. You know, we were dating like a mad short amount of time before we had a kid. Like, you know, we had our ups and downs in the beginning. You were
still growing as a couple when you had a kid.
Yep. And I didn't even understand the concept that her being pregnant, she was going to be a different person and she couldn't even control it. You know what I mean? Like, I had to realize that later. And then for the second, you know, for our son, I understood that a lot. So it was a lot different. It was a lot easier pregnancy as well. You know what I mean? But just that naiveness and just the situation we were in, it just kind of made a situation where it wasn't ideal at all. And it was kind of like working against us. And we just got lucky, bro. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I can try to attribute it to a lot of different things. I could try to say it was, you know, character things. It was, you know, standing on those principles and stuff like that. But there's people that do that too, and their things fall apart. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's just, bro, it's luck of the draw, man. Like, you never know.
Could you say personally, your children, the way you've raised them, if they were to get in a situation like that, like where, you know, they make the wrong decision, end up in the wrong hands or in the wrong situations, would you be completely shocked?
I would definitely be shocked, just because I've kind of trained my kids from a young age to enjoy their own company and to not look to people for anything, like for comfort, happiness, advice, anything, bro. Like, I've just always taught them to, you know, trust themselves and do the right thing and move the right way, and, you know, not to put too much into other people. And it's definitely cultivated itself and it's shown, you know what I mean? And I'm super proud of that, just from, you know, my kids are already 14 and 10. So it's, you know, it's a lot of time put in kind of showing them that, and they've cultivated it, you know what I mean? So I would definitely be surprised. I would, you know, and even just like the way I grew up, bro, like, I got a perspective where, like, I seen the bottom of the bottom. Like, I seen you know, I've seen the worst people. I've seen the worst of the worst people. Like, I've seen the worst part of the worst people is what I'm meaning to say. Like, so, you know, from A to Z, I've been there and I've seen it. So I have like a different perspective when I'm talking to them, because, you know, I was even talking about this with my brother earlier. Like, he was saying how he has not necessarily resentment, but sometimes he like talks to other people, or, you know, he'll be in like a conference call or meeting or something, hearing people talk and hearing what, you know, just their point of view and how they speak on stuff. And it's like, he can just tell, like, you grew up a certain way, like you haven't had to go through certain things. Like, and it's like, yeah, bro, like you
can tell who's been sheltered.
Exactly. That's pretty much it. And I feel like I've been able to find a pretty good balance of, showing my kids the real stuff, but also like, I mean, even because I'm that kind of guy where I have that balance of like, they know where I came from, they know my situation, like, you know, they know I don't have a dad involved, or like they've never met their grandpa, you know what I mean? They
Yeah.
recently started asking about that kind of stuff. Like they know like where I came from, and they know where we're at. So it's like they understand my perspective, you know what I mean? They know that I'm coming from a genuine place. So I feel like it's also easier for me to, but it's, man, it's also because I stand for something too, you know what I mean? And I'm always firm. So I don't blow in the wind. You feel me? So
Yeah.
they always see me be the same. Like I don't
That's what I
talk
was
out
in,
two
allude
sides of my
to.
mouth. You know what I mean?
The-
I don't do things that are questionable. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's a consistency, and like I'm not a parent, but just I know as having my parents in my life and the way I've learned and
And
continues
you're
to.
really involved in your niece's life as well.
Oh, big time. And that the conversations I had with her. So I know it's consistency, you know what I mean? So it's not like, oh, you're at this age, it's time for you to learn things like this. It's being and showing that way throughout their entire life. It's like, I've been telling you this for years,
Exactly.
kind of thing. It's like, I've been showing you and telling you this for years. And like for me, it took me a while to see that side of my dad. Now I'm glad that with my dad, I have conversations with him. It's like, damn, like you've been so right for years, and it finally clicked, and now I see it. And then same thing, the thing I know with my niece and the relationship my sister has with her, and it's same thing. Like like so consistent about the way you should think about things, feel about things, deal with things, and you just constantly have to be consistent and not switch up on them, because the second you switch up, it's like, oh, I guess I don't have to think that way anymore. I don't have to
Mm-hmm.
feel that way anymore. Maybe it's okay to do this. Maybe it is, and that plays a big part of raising children, whether they're your own children or your family members or anything. Like, be consistent with your views and your outlook, and I think that plays a big part of what you instill in them and the way they deal with situations for the rest of their lives.
No, that's big facts, bro. Because I literally can pretty much all like the adults that were in my life growing up that were impactful. I vividly remember situations where they faltered from the point of view that I saw that it was like a lapse in judgment, or they're going back on their word because now it's not easy for them to stand on what they said. You know what I mean? So it's like, just seeing that in people and feeling that from people, it always made me be conscious of that. You know what I mean? Like I've always tried to be as consistent as I can, just because I know that, if you have that hard line where there's not a lot of X factor to how you are and everything, you don't get into those dumb situations. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Like
Yep.
you cut out certain things and you should cut it out. As soon as you invite it back, shit starts getting funny for you. And it's
Yep.
like, what it is. You know what I
Yep.
mean? You should have cut that out. You ain't cut it out. It's back. Now your bad stuff is back. Everything is formulaic and everything is real black and white when you're just operating off of straight morals. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's no gray area when you know what's right and what's wrong.
Yeah, and that's how I like when we have a conversation and stuff, and like the story you told us when you were a kid, and how you played that situation, and like I said, I think about it. If I was in a situation at your age, I don't know, I might have went a little different.
Yeah.
But it's crazy when you think back and you're like, damn, I kind of made some good decisions back then. Not all good, but kind of did. So you had that good mentality in you, and you understood. What's right and what's wrong, and it's like you carry that, man. You remember, you carry that through the rest of your life, man, until you get really old, and then you sit back and tell stories to all the younger kids. It's like,
Yeah.
listen, I know
Facts.
what you're gonna go through.
Mm-hmm. And it's even like what I was saying, where like at those times, as a younger kid, high school, young adult, I made bad decisions, obviously, and I did questionable things, but I would like to think that my morals never wavered. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
it was based off of, other things, financial, dumb kid stuff, you know what I mean?
yeah,
But when it comes to like being solid, like I've always tried to be that.
yeah,
So when I'm talking about stuff, you know, now talking about the past and different things, like I'm talking about it from a perspective of like I made it out of that because of what I did in those situations.
yeah.
You know what I mean? But speaking of that, bro, which is like an interesting topic, inside of a topic. Today Richard Lewis passed away, man. Rest in
Yeah,
peace.
R.I.P. Man.
Comedian. He was when he came on my radar was Robin Hood Men in Tights. You know what I mean? I think that movie was from '93. I was a big fan of Robin Hood, Three Musketeers, that kind of stuff. And I always liked like funny stuff. So when I saw that movie, it just like hit me right away. Like it was like right in my alley, because you see it and it has like this production value and this vibe to it where you think it's gonna be like this cool medieval style movie, but it's a comedy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he played like the king in the movie. And bro, that movie is so funny, bro. Like it's just a lot of like stupid puns and like a lot of jokes, like where they're like transporting it to the medieval time.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, that was a direct parody for like Robin Hood
Kevin
Prince of
Costner one?
Thieves. Yeah, the actual Robin Hood Prince of Thieves movie. Like I said, that was back then where they were doing like starting those parody movies like The Princess Bride and all the stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Like those were meant to be puns and like making fun of those, and like that's what started like Scary Movie and all that stuff like that. And like to be part of the initial comedy canon of those kind of movies is crazy. And that's why I feel like everything he was in was from then on comedic value.
Yeah.
Because of how funny it was.
It's funny, man. I always thought Princess Bride was Mel Brooks. I found out a couple years ago when I bought the DVD that it wasn't Mel Brooks. I think it was let me look at it. I have it here. Rob Reiner. Yeah. Directed and co-produced by Rob Reiner. And that's another big movie. And the star in that movie was actually the star in Robin Hood Men in Tights. But the thing that's remember,
my sister, my niece's favorite movie.
There's two things I always remember from Robin Hood Men in Tights. One is the scene where he stands up and he's like, "Friends, Romans, countrymen, lend me your ears." And they all throw their ears at him.
Ears out and throw it at him.
Bro, that's so stupid, but it's like right up my alley, dog. Yeah. And the other thing that's like a hilarious detail as soon as you catch it is Dave Chappelle is in it, like a real young Dave Chappelle. And Dave Chappelle is like one of the Robin Hood guys, like in the entourage and stuff. And he got the little Robin Hood hat, the little green one that looks like the Peter Pan hat, but the one he got is a snapback, and he's wearing it backwards, bro. He got a snapback Peter Pan hat. That's what I'm saying.
Bro. Like just that kind of comedy that long ago that still resonates today. Like everybody realizes today why that's funny. That should be on their time, bro.
Bruh. And it's always funny, like seeing movies and things like that when you're catching these all-time greats in their early stages. And it's like, bro, you just had him there as like a side character, just being hilarious. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, that was great.
But yeah, man, with kind of tying it back to what we was talking about, like with the Richard Lewis thing, you know, he dealt with like alcoholism, drug abuse. And honestly, man, I'm not happy he died, but I'm happy that he made it to an age where you're like
6 years old.
Yeah, bro. You're like, oh man, he had a long life. You know what I mean? With all the stuff he went through in his youth. And
he was performing through the whole out because he was in the last few seasons of Curb.
Yep.
He was a big person in Curb, man. That's really how I started to like him again and remembering who he was for all the seasons in Curb that I saw.
Same exact thing.
He was a reoccurring character. He was funny.
And it was funny because he for the last few years he's always had this thing where he's like real like self-deprecating and that was kind of his style, you know what I mean? And every year he would be like, man, this is probably my last year doing Curb, you know, my health, this and that, like I don't know if I'm gonna be able to swing it, but he always ended up in the show, you know what I mean? Even last year, bro, the last season, dog, well, it was 2 years ago, but the last season there was a scene when him and Larry David are like sitting at like a city council rally or something like that. It's like an assembly or whatever. They're sitting in the crowd talking, and Larry just cuts him off and he's like, "Why don't you just die already? When are you gonna die?" Like,
yeah, when they were at the funeral, right?
No, I think they were like at that city council meeting where he met that lady that he ended up dating from the city council or whatever. And it was just so funny because it's like, you know, obviously it's like a comedy thing, but it's like you could see like he was just having a lot of ailments. You know, it was getting harder for him to do stuff. He would complain about it more and more in the show because that was like his thing. You know, he was always complaining about the stuff that was going on with him. And like I said, man, it's dope that he made it through a long life. Yeah. You know what I mean? Was able to bounce back from the issues he had before, and you know, and be somebody that, you know, really added something to the comedy world, to the movie world, to the TV world.
And that's why, like, a lot of when you go that far back, and I know you are a big fan of comedy, you have to really know the comedy scene, because I forgot, there was a book, I can't remember the author, but I know the name. It's called I'm Dying in Here, and it's a book on comedy, and it chronicled like the coming of age of this collective group of comedians. And I know you know this group because it was Letterman, Leno, Robin Williams, Andy Kaufman, Gary Shandling, and who what's his name?
Gary Shandling's one of those guys right there that didn't have the, you know, unluckily he didn't have the same story as Richard Lewis. You know, all the stuff caught up to him, and he died pretty young. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there was somebody else, I can't remember, but it's like he came up with that group.
Yeah,
like he came up with that group of comedians, like coming of age, like literally. Like if they had an XSL cover for comedians, they was on the cover, the freshman cover.
Yeah,
and that's how far back he gone. And look, these are some of the biggest names. The same thing for Robin Williams. You know, his fate was cut short as well. But it's like he is deep in the comedy scene, and he I think, remember he had that one serious movie, Leaving Las Vegas. When I moved to Vegas, I watched every Vegas movie. I remember watching Leaving Las Vegas, and he was in it, but it was a serious role. And back then, comedians didn't get serious roles.
Yeah,
it's just crazy. Like,
I gotta peep that.
Yeah, Leaving Las Vegas. It's just dope to see how long they lived and the legacy they left behind and who they were when they passed. Still, people, someone remembers. It's a dope story. Like, you know, shout out to Richard Lewis for real.
And comedy's so interesting too, because there's so many worlds within it. You know what I mean? Like when we had Sean Madden, the comedian, he was just talking about like when he started comedy, like his thing was, I want to be a New York stand-up. Like it wasn't necessarily like I just want to be a comedian. Like he wanted to go out to New York, and he spent a couple years like kind of working the circuit out there and just feeling what it was like to be a New York stand-up. You know what I mean? Because even if you hear comedians talk, they'll have this thing of like New York comedy versus LA comedy. You know what I mean? Because it's like two different scenes. It's always that thing, you know, the coast thing. But within comedy, you know, Richard Lewis, you know, he kind of danced on both sides, and he's just like one of those legacy comedians that like a lot of his stuff is, you know, there's a lot of influence that a lot of people don't even know that Richard Lewis left in the comedy scene. And that's another crazy thing about that class that you're talking about. They came up in that era when things weren't being documented the same way. So they were kind of like setting the blueprints for what the comedy scene is now, what the world is now with comedy. You know what I mean? A lot of those people being involved in the early stages of Saturday Night Live, like, you know, the generation before them kind of like setting that stage even. And it's just super interesting to see like how it's all kind of shaped out, how the careers have gone and stuff like that. And yeah, man, it's definitely going to be sad watching the rest of this season, knowing that he passed. And, you know, it's the last season. It's kind of crazy how that happens, and then you know, they finish recording. The season's playing out now. It's they said it's done, and you know, he passed away like the last season, I believe. And
you know what's crazy? Real quick, he had the same look his whole life.
Yeah, the black. He was known for that all black, bro.
And the long, he never cut it short. He always had the long hair. He always had the big like puff at the top. That's someone who was dedicated to who they were, man.
Yeah. Another funny guy was Bob Einstein, you know, like one of the OGs of sketch comedy. Bob Einstein played Marty Funkhauser on Curb Your Enthusiasm.
And
he's another guy that a lot of people don't know, like the influence and the bro. He was like on like one of the OG sketch comedy shows that really like blew up, that really like made sketch comedy like a viable thing. You know what I mean? Super Dave. Yep.
Yeah.
You know, it's interesting, man. Comedy is a cool world and a lot of different things. And speaking of comedy and comedians, Jess Hilarious, comedian that is currently part of the Breakfast Club squad. She replaced
I
Angela
haven't
Yee.
seen any of the new ones. How's it going? Have you watched any of it?
I like it, man. I like the
Yeah,
vibe. I like her. I
I love her.
always,
I think she's hilarious.
yeah. So I
No pun.
I consume the Breakfast Club in a very specific way. I'll check out the interviews specifically if it's somebody that I would like to hear from, because like in their podcast they kind of break everything up. So like I'll check out the interviews and then I'll check out like the news segment that they do at the beginning. I don't like when they take calls from the audience or like
Yeah.
that kind of vibe, like donkey of the day. Like I'm not into that, but I like when they talk about the news and stuff. I like when they do the interviews. But recently Charlemagne was joking about people with big backs, I mean, just joking, like, oh, talking about like fat people or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So he's like, oh, making jokes, and then somebody kind of came at him, reality TV star T.S. Madison. T.S.
Who is
Madison.
that?
So T.S. Madison, I had to look it up earlier as well, is known for being the first Black trans woman to star and executive produce in her own reality series. Like she was like, the person on the
She was
forefront.
on RuPaul's stuff too. RuPaul Drag Race.
Mm-hmm. So T.S. Madison made some kind of joke, basically based off of what Charlemagne said about the big back people and stuff like that. And then it kind of like devolved into a thing where she came at Jess Hilarious and kind of called Jess Hilarious a man, because that's kind of like a thing people throw at Jess Hilarious here and there, like when they want to shade her or whatever. Oh, you're a man, you look like a man, whatever. And Jess Hilarious was kind of like, bro, this is crazy because you're trans throwing that at me as an insult.
Yeah.
And it's like, you get what I'm saying?
Yeah. You can't make fun of someone being black if you're black.
Exactly. It's kind of like, bro, like it was such a weird situation from Jess Hilarious standpoint, and I'm not going to try to rehash what she said about it or anything like that, but that was the gist of it. You know what I mean? And it's just funny, man, because
I think that's called projecting.
Yeah. And it's just funny because at the end of the day, bro, like people do all these things, and it just comes to any topic, like not even just the trans thing, just in general. People have all these feelings and they don't want, they want to be treated a certain way and everything. But then as soon as things devolve, you pull that card and you're trying to tear somebody down however you can, no matter what the content is, whatever, just to try to strike them down. And it's like, man, like it kind of goes back to what I was saying about standing on your morals, bro. You can't do things like that when you're trying to champion something else. You know what I mean? Like, it's like so many people have this thing where it's like somebody gets into a situation, namely Diddy. You know what I'm saying? Diddy gets into these situations and people are like, oh, they're trying to come at him because he was, mad about his liquor deal or whatever. And it's like, that may be true. I'm not disputing that at all. But whatever he did, aside from that he's being charged with, if those things are true, he still did that.
Yeah.
So it's like, one doesn't excuse the other. And regardless, it's like, yo, you still left yourself open to these things because you weren't being moral all the way. You weren't standing firm all the way through. You know what I mean? And it's just funny, man, how that works out. Cause it's like a lot of people like to point at different things as to why situations happen the way they do and how things break down and stuff. And I've always said it on the pod, bro. I always look to myself every time when something happens. Like even when somebody does me wrong, you know what I mean? Even me and you were talking earlier about a situation where I was like, bruh, I shouldn't even have got involved with that person.
Yep.
So if they did me wrong, that's on me because I knew off rip. You know what I mean? Even if
you didn't go into that knowing the risk. I mean, you went into that knowing the risk.
Exactly. I went into that knowing the things about that person, and I still went into it thinking, oh, since I'm standing on business, they're gonna stand on business. But that's not how things work, bro. You know what I mean? And yeah, man, that thing always bothers me with a lot of people, and it happens a lot with people like us, just from the point of view of we have a podcast where we're doing public things where we're talking so much that eventually, if not already, we've already talked out of the both sides of our mouth. You know what I mean? Like it
Agree.
might have already happened, and it probably already happened many times just because we're
Hmm.
talking so much. You know what
That's
I
why I
mean?
stopped getting so lit on the podcast. No, but the same thing. Like if anything ever comes up and I say something the wrong way, people are gonna go dig back and see what I used to say about it. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
It's just, but I'm not big enough to have a reason to do that. But it's there.
But even then, bro, I would disagree just from the point of view of whatever you did say that might be something that somebody can try to dig back on. You
Mhm.
always stand on a certain plane where, regardless of what it is, they can't do any kind of digging where it'll like hurt you. You
Oh
get what I'm
yeah,
saying?
not at all.
It
Won't
was
affect
just
me.
whatever happened in that situation, whatever comment or whatever, and that's
Hmm.
it. Your track record speaks for
Yeah.
something else. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And that's the
Nah.
thing. That's the thing that I always think about, man. Like, it's just people like to create these resistances in their lives, and they always want to point at a bad guy, but a lot of time the bad guy is you being just being immoral. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like at the end of the day, it's being immoral.
Yeah. No, man. I think we talked about that. Say with Kevin El Gallo,
Yeah.
about people are gonna just any little thing, man. Especially if you got fame and you're on the hype train and you have all the success, people are going to find a way to just tarnish it, man. Just because they don't have it, and they haven't got to the level that you're at, and it sucks because there's some people who don't even deserve it. Like I remember we talked about the
Mm-hmm.
show The Bear,
Yep.
and the girl who plays Sydney Ayo Debris, she hosted Saturday Night Live, and the musical guest was Jennifer Lopez. And they dug up a tweet from her from like 2015, 9 years ago, where she was just joking. And it's something I say about Jennifer Lopez myself. Like, she's still performing, still making music. She needs to just go home and be a mom. Like, just relax.
Yeah. Yeah.
Stop doing so much. And they were blasting that the whole week of her SNL thing, bro. And it's just like, it sucks to see her. Like, I'm sure that was a joke. Like I said, because I joke about it all the time, man.
Yeah.
And that has nothing to do with her morals or
Mm-hmm.
how she treats people. That's just her, how she
It's
feels
just a
about one
thought.
celebrity.
It's just
Yeah.
a thought. And
And
it's
I
funny,
feel like it
man.
almost ruined that whole week for her, but luckily it didn't.
Yeah. It's funny because we were talking about Ryan Garcia earlier,
Yeah.
and just like his antics on social media and stuff. And it's like, bro, that's just the world we're in
Yeah.
now. Like back in the day, me and you, we had a thought and we just thought it, and that's it. You know what I mean? We might have told the people around us, we joke about it for 5 minutes. I always talk about this Aziz Ansari bit that he does, where he
Oh,
talks
yes.
about people, back in the day, you spent 2 hours arguing about a fact because nobody had a way to check it. You and your friends sit around, drink some beers, argue
Yeah.
2 hours about, a player that was on a team, or, a season that somebody, just any kind of thing. Somebody that was in a
Nobody could Google it.
movie, nobody could Google it. Nowadays, bro, you Google it and that conversation's dead. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, we're not even having that spirited debate for 2 hours. That it's not even about the talk. I mean, it's not even about the topic. It's about the talk. It's about the conversing. It's about the camaraderie. It's about understanding how to talk to people. Like, there's so many elements of stuff that's kind of going out the window. And even the way people are like internalizing content, where it's like nowadays it's like transition into a thing where people don't necessarily like even interact with the content. They just watch it and internalize it. You know what I mean? So it's just a new way of even living, a new way of even like having a personality. It's a new way of interact. Like, there's so much newness with the social media that it's almost like you can't even have this ill will towards the people that are doing things on social media, or like, because they're the blueprint. You know what I'm saying? They're showing you like what to do, what not to do. Like, nowadays, people on socials, they move in a different way because of those things that are happening to people from back in the day. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's
And
crazy,
it's,
man.
it's funny. Just a quick thing. I think that ruined debates for me. I remember you brought up something about basketball and nobody reacted to it. like some basketball topic in the chat. You're
Mm-hmm.
like, damn, nobody. And I feel that's the way now. It's because like I want to say something about a player that I love just to start a debate about it, and then someone comes up with a link, and it's like, oh, but Michael Jordan played against 7-foot guards between 7 minutes each game for 3 years in a row versus the same conference. And it's like, bro, all right, see, now I don't want to even debate with you, bro. Where'd you get all that? Let's just talk about what we know. You didn't know that coming into this conversation.
Yeah.
You didn't know that. Tell me, let's debate about what you know right now.
Facts.
And I feel that ruined debating for me. And that's why I now just like, all right, whatever, you win. I don't care.
Because even with like the debating, dog, like that's just us exercising our brains with our thoughts. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's not like you said, bro. This ain't fact check time. This ain't, you know, it ain't even that deep. Most 99% of the time, it ain't even that deep. It's just something to pass the time and entertain yourself talking about something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
that's why I stopped posting about LeBron James publicly.
Yeah.
And I still get people, and it's crazy. And these people know who they are. They send me stuff about things LeBron says in a post-game interview or things he says on Instagram. What they got to do about how he plays basketball today?
Yeah.
They're like, this is your king. This is your GOAT. And I just laugh. Yeah.
The crazy thing about the LeBron thing too is like when you compare LeBron and Jordan, like both sides have an argument, bro. Like they got the stats and the eye test on both of their sides, bro. Like for you to be a basketball fan and not even be able to entertain that conversation, to me is like crazy sometimes. It's like, bro, like, you know, people value different things in basketball players just like they value different things in people, period. You know what I mean?
That's why, and like something I could use to my benefit is like LeBron's been with the same wife, raising his kids, family man, the school, this and that. Jordan was a gambler. He did this, he did that. What's that got to do with how they hoop?
Exactly.
What's that got to do with that? I'm not even using that as a defense. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? I don't care about that. But people like try to go against me about that. I said, bro, I know of what I've seen. I've seen Michael Jordan play. I've seen him play, and I've seen him play on the Wizards. I've seen that Jordan. I watched LeBron play his whole career. I'm watching LeBron play today. Two different players to me. Yeah, that's all I want to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I can talk about, what I've seen. What they do outside the court, how they treat people, what they've done, all the other bullshit. Even the Jordan documentary and all the shit he said and him crying and Isaiah Thomas, that has nothing to do with how I see them as basketball players.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like a cool perspective to see what was going on and everything. But like you said, a lot of people like to use like some of those clips like, like LeBron could never or whatever. It's like, bro, there's more than one way to skin a cat, man. And they've both been able to do it. LeBron got the records that I'm pretty sure Jordan was super competitive, bro.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he would have liked to be the all-time leading scorer of the NBA.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I'm pretty sure he would have liked to have all these accolades that LeBron had. You know what I mean? Like, it's a debate that will never, you know what I'm saying? You can never figure out.
And that's why you literally, in order to succeed in your profession, outside of you have to be the most perfect person in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Or else, no matter how good you are at what you do for a living, someone will find something outside of that to say, nah, you ain't that good because you did this outside of your career.
Mm-hmm. And it's funny too, because like a lot of people use that thing of LeBron is like being scrutinized more. It's a tougher time, more talent. This isn't that the world is different, all this stuff. And it kind of makes me laugh because it goes into another topic that I wanted to talk about. Again, Sean Madden, the comedian, he put a joke on Instagram that was real funny that I always had that same thought too. Like there's so many people that always say how hard times are now. You know what I mean? And his thing was kind of like, you know, everybody says times are hard now, but do you know of anybody that's been like sliced by a sword?
Yeah, for real.
You know what I mean? Like, are you like off the coast looking into the ocean and you see 400 Viking ships coming your way? You know what I mean? Like,
were you drafted to go fight in a war and never had any experience in battle before?
Exactly. Did you have to be a freaking 5-year-old working in a factory for 10 cents? Like, bro, you talking
that was
about
normal. That was the norm.
There was a time, bro. I always think about the people, dog. Imagine you was born in 1900, right? And you
Mhm.
had like, I don't know what a normal life expectancy is. Let's say 70. Let's say you were born in
Today it's still
1900
70. Yeah.
and you
Back
lived
then, I
to
don't know.
1970, right? Imagine all of the horrible shit you went
Mm.
through, dog. That was the last pandemic, two world wars, the Great Depression, the the war in Vietnam.
Mhm.
Like, dog,
The first World Trade Center attack, the second World Trade Center attack.
bro, you're talking about a crazy, like somebody that lived in that time, probably like they might have got to the end of their life, like, bro, like thinking that the world was about to end in like 20 minutes. You feel me?
Mhm.
Like they probably thought this thing was gonna explode by 1980. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
then you look at now, and it's like, yeah, there's a lot of tough things going on, and honestly, I feel like it's just amplified because we see it all now. Like all
Yeah.
this crazy stuff has been going on, bro. Especially like Israel, Palestine, like Russia,
The whole shit
all
Gaza.
this
Yeah, it's
stuff,
crazy.
bro. Everything, dog. Like it's been going on and even worse before because they knew nobody could see it, so you could get away with
Yeah.
it.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? But it's just so funny, like how many people nowadays have this thing of like things are so hard and stuff because and we'll start winding down with this, but dog, like even me and you were talking earlier, like I've been going through some personal hardships lately. You know what I mean? Like just the financial burden of opening the salon, a lot of things just happening at once, so many things going on. And it's like, even going back to my own youth, I look, bro, I'm right now talking to you sitting in my studio, bro, in
Hmm.
my house. Like I'm gonna go out that door that's behind me. Which way? I can never figure it. Right there, that door right
Hmm.
there. No, it's not even that door. Actually, it's the door's over here. You can't see it. I'm gonna go out that door, and I smell it. My wife is cooking. I'm gonna go out that door when
Mm.
we're done. I'm gonna eat my dinner, go to my room and chill. Probably come back here later, work on some music,
Have some
like
cafecito.
have some cafecito. You hear me? Yo, I'm about to give everybody the game real quick on the coffee, man, because a lot of people have asked me this, and I'm gonna clip this and I'm gonna refer them to this. There's a Bustelo. Everybody, not everybody, but people that know about coffee know about Bustelo, right? So Bustelo has Bustelo Supreme. The Bustelo is like a yellow bag, but Bustelo
Hmm.
Supreme is like a black one
That's
with
like
like
that Bud
yellow
Light Platinum Bustelo.
facts, bro. They only sell it in Target and Publix. Target has the beans and the powder, but Publix just has the powder, right? Dog, that Bustelo Supreme. I don't know how to say it in English, but it's called a greca in Spanish. It's like the little thing you put on the stove top to make coffee.
Hmm.
Bustelo Supreme in there, a little bit of lactate, and some natural cane sugar. Oh my gosh, bro. That's the espresso of all espressos, dog. But what I was saying was, I have so many luxuries now that I didn't have. And even though I'm going through hard times, bro, I have my own resources where I can still make stuff happen.
Yeah.
I've been able to up my monthly listeners on Spotify. Like they've grown like by like 4 or 5,000 in the last, like literally in the time that I haven't been able to invest in my music the way that I was before. My audience grew more
Yeah.
because you know all I can do is what I can do, and just the consistency and just keep dropping and just keep working with the music and everything, bro. I've been able to grow my fan base in like the down period, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And sometimes, like especially for me, bro, I can't see the forest between the trees sometimes, like I just get too worked up and
Yeah.
focused on the stuff that's going bad and trying to fix that, as opposed to looking at, all right, all these other things are going good, you just got to weather the storm.
The way I look at it is, if you can sit down and everything you need in life, everything you need on a day to day, necessity, you have it, you're blessed.
Facts.
Everything you just want outside of that, the good to haves, the nice to haves, those are luxuries. Those are luxuries in life, and that's
Mm-hmm.
good to have it when you can have it. When you have the means and the right time and the right situations to have it. But if you have everything you need in life, like if you couldn't go out there and drink your coffee because you couldn't afford coffee, that's different than being go out there and be able to like watch an 80-inch TV because you don't got it. That's completely different, man.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the way I look at things, and that's why I love the way my wife agrees with me on that. Sometimes I want so much more, And then I pull back and I'm like, maybe we don't need that now. She's like, we never needed that. She's like, that was all you. And I was like, yeah, but I just feel like, as a husband and we, as a newlyweds, we need this, we need that. She's like, that's all you. She's like, I'm happy. I got everything I need right here. She's like, I'm happy. And that's why I pull back and I'm like, damn, who am I proving it to?
Facts, man.
Who am I trying to prove something to?
Yeah, man. I know, like, especially with like the way I grew up, I had this thing in my adult, like young adulthood, where I just wanted things because I lacked things. You know what I mean? Growing up. And then you just get to this point where you just, you got so much value in your life just from the people that's in it, the way you're living it, that you realize, bro, like you said, it's like all that stuff is extra. And sometimes it's not even a plus because it's, you know how it is, the shiny new thing. And then it's the next shiny new thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Once you get that, then oh man, we'll wrap it up. But when I left the first company I worked with for 13 years to go to a big corporation that I thought was what everybody needs to do in their career. You need to work for this big name, this big. I had a mentor, and he told me, he goes, "I'm gonna tell you one thing. If you chase the beast now, you're gonna chase the beast forever because you're gonna catch that beast." And then you're going to look for the next beast. And you're going to catch that beast, you're going to look for the next beast. And he's like, and if you don't give that up, you're never going to be happy. You're never going to be satisfied.
Facts, man.
He's like, you're going to do that for the rest of your life.
Bowser's always going to take Princess Peach to the next castle, dog.
Facts. And you got to pick a castle just to kick it out because you want it and you're chilling there.
Facts. And leave that dirty bitch behind.
Hey.
But yeah, man, I recently organized like all my music that I've been working on, man, and I have a lot more music that's finished than I thought. And that even lifted my spirits because I felt like I've been slacking in that area. But it's like, dang, I got like, 20 something records to work with. So I'm getting ready.
I've been saying it. We need a project. We need a project.
Man, that's the stages I'm in right now, man. I'm ready to get this going. Me and Freddie coming up with a plan for this next project, and just what I got going in that project is I'm just super excited for people to hear it and it just get out of this plateau and hit that next level,
Yep.
But yeah, man, aside from the music stuff, I don't really got nothing going on like that, man. If you're in the Orlando area, man, make sure y'all go catch Jari Knows, Sean Madden. There's a lot of other comedians, but I'm telling a lot of people, especially because I know a lot of people that love comedy. The comedy scene in Orlando right now, bro, is going crazy. I mean, there's so many artists.
Like Austin.
Yep. Bro, and that's where I was kind of going with it. There's so many comedians, like I said artists, but there's so many comedians that are working regularly in Austin right now. Like,
which is like the mecca.
Yep. It's like the new mecca of comedy right now, man. And like Jari's always over there, Sean's always over there. Like, bro, like there's a lot of talent here in Orlando. And right now you can see them, $10, $20. You can see them for free some nights, depending on when you go. You know what I'm saying? So I definitely encourage people that are looking for something dope to do that's not kind of like the normal stuff. The comedy scene in Orlando, man, that's where it's at right now. Remember I said this, and it's on record. So a year from now, when all these names I'm telling you is doing crazy things, I don't know if people know Preacher Lawson came from out here. You know what I mean? Not specifically Orlando, but this is kind of where he like, sharpened his craft and really like, took off from what I saw.
Yep.
And yeah, man, it's just a good time to kind of be involved in like downtown, everything. They've been kind of cleaning up the vibe down there and kind of shifting the way the vibe is down there, like to make it more friendly for people just to go out there and have a good time. Yeah, so it's definitely dope, something to check out, man. We got to do some kind of grounded thing where we go to one of these things and we definitely got to make that connection because, these guys are tapped in with the show, they're friends of the show and it's definitely something that we need to explore.
Yeah. Jari, I love Jari, how he's always down. He comes on here. He's ready to rock. His energy is amazing, man. And I watch all Sean's clips. We definitely need to make that happen. As soon as Quincy, aka Carmen Sandiego,
we need to get Sean here with all of us too.
Yeah, no, for sure.
But yeah, dog,
shout out to Quincy, though. That's a dog. We're gonna hold it down for the next couple of weeks without him.
Yeah,
that's the dog. That's the homie for sure.
Hey, but going back to like how we grew up, dog. Quincy grew up pretty much like how I did, dog, and to just see him like flourishing, how he has
Oh
been the
yeah,
last couple years, dog.
he's in
Especially,
his bag. He's in his bag.
bro. Especially the down period he's coming out of, dog. Like,
Yeah,
he spoke. I'm not talking out of turn because he spoke about it on the podcast and everything, but losing his
yeah.
mom and being in just a horrible financial situation and just
The
all
whole
this
shit with the
stuff.
job. My
Yeah,
man's gone
bro.
through it, and he's come. I feel like he's digging himself out of that hole, man. And you can't do nothing but be happy for him.
Yeah, we give him them little friendly jabs, the group chat, dickheads, but at the end of the day, we none but love, and we all happy
Yeah,
for him and just
we
seeing
gonna
him
hold it
be
down for him in the
happy.
next couple of weeks while he's cross country boy.
Facts, man. He got to give up those sick days, but you know what I'm saying? It's all good. He'll earn them back next year. He'll accrue them back. But yeah, man, thank y'all for tuning in again. We're gonna be back like we're always back. And like I said, man, we're gonna touch the city, man. It's coming very, very soon.
We need to expand. We got to get that in.
Facts, man. Stay
Buddington.
But